Welcome to Quantumly Kinky with Dr. Veda, where we talk about sex, Eastern medicine, and character development for the multidimensional you. Episode 51, The Nervous System of a Turned On Life. Welcome back to Quantumly Kinky, where modern sexuality meets ancient medicine, and every episode helps you to rewire your body for more pleasure, power, presence, and turn on. I am your host, Dr. Veda, and it's been a couple weeks since I've been here with you. I've been in the beautiful, slightly chaotic, vulnerable process of opening my practice, the Turned On Clinic here in San Diego. And stepping into that has required something from me that I want to talk a little bit about today. Presence. Because building a life that actually excites you, building something that feels true to your soul, it requires this kind of presence that you can't really fake. And that brings me to today's question. How do we know if we're actually turned on by our life? Not sexually, but existentially. Because being turned on isn't primarily about sexuality anyways. It's about the quality of presence that we feel inside of our own existence. This existence as a human being here on this strange and miraculous time-ship earth. Being turned on means that we have this feeling that our life has texture, color, energy moving through it. Most of us think that we're tired because we're doing so much. And sure, yeah, there's some truth to that. But what I see again and again in clinic, in relationships, and in my own life is that people are tired because they're disconnected from the moment that they're actually living in. Disconnected from their breath, from their bodies, from the quiet electric experience of simply being here, now. And when that connection fades, life stops feeling erotic. And not always erotic in the sexual sense, but erotic in the sense that the ancient Greeks meant it. Eros, as the life force itself, the pulse of existence moving through us, that type of erotic energy. So today I want to talk about what it really means to be turned on by our life, how to recognize when we are and how to recognize when we're not, and how to slowly begin turning that current back on again. Let's start with a deep breath together. Being turned on means that our nervous system is participating in reality instead of protecting us from it. Most of us are living inside this subtle state of defense. Our nervous system has learned that the world is overwhelming, unpredictable, and sometimes even unsafe. So it does what it's designed to do. The nervous system contracts. It narrows perception, it reduces sensation, and it dampens our curiosity. And over time, this protective posture becomes so normal that sometimes we forget what it even feels like to be fully alive in our own bodies. In Eastern medicine, this is what we would call stagnation of life force. The current, it's slowing, breath is becoming shallow, our attention becoming rigid, and our body stops circulating vitality the way it was designed to. And when vitality stops moving, guess what? Something else quietly disappears as well. Eros. And not just sexual desire, though that often fades too, but that deeper erotic pulse of existence itself. Eros is the force that makes us curious about life. It's what makes us want to touch things, taste things, create things, explore ideas, connect with other people. Eros is the biological and energetic signal that says, I am here and I want to experience this life. But Eros cannot exist in a nervous system that feels chronically threatened. Let me say that again. Eros, our life force, cannot exist in a nervous system that feels chronically threatened. This is why so much of my work, both in clinic and through this podcast, is really about nervous system regulation. Because when the nervous system begins to settle, when our breath deepens, when circulation returns, and when the body remembers it is safe enough to feel again, something remarkable starts to happen. The system begins to activate. Color returns to our daily experience. Ideas start flowing. The body softens and wakes up. And that ancient life force, the thing that the Greeks called eros and the Chinese described as the movement of qi, well, that very thing begins moving through us again. Not as something that we force, but as something we allow. And that is what being truly turned on by our life actually means. So, what does it feel like when we're not turned on by our life? This part matters, because so many of us have quietly normalized disconnection. Not being turned on by our life doesn't always have to look dramatic. Often it looks very ordinary. It can look like scrolling endlessly but not actually absorbing anything. It can look like conversations that feel flat, even with people that we care about, or success that should feel so satisfying, but somehow it feels empty. Sometimes it looks like constantly planning for the future, but rarely enjoying the moment that we're actually in. And a lot of times it's just this feeling that we need stimulation just to feel something. It's like you're functioning, but you're not receiving. And this is a super important distinction, because burnout is often misunderstood. Burnout is not always exhaustion. Many times, burnout is simply the absence of presence. Soak that in. Your body, it's technically alive, but your attention isn't fully here. And from a nervous system perspective, this is not a personal failure. It's actually an intelligent, protective adaptation. When the world feels overwhelming, the nervous system narrows perception. It limits sensation. It reduces emotional exposure. It dampens curiosity, and it's programmed to do this. It helps us to keep going, but it comes with a cost. And that cost is vitality. Because when our perception narrows, life stops feeling vivid. The colors are dull. Experiences all blur together. And slowly, sometimes almost imperceptibly, you stop feeling turned on by existence itself. Let's take a deep breath together. So I want to talk about why this isn't always about sex. Because here's where people get confused. They think being turned on means increasing sexual intensity. But sexuality is only one expression of a deeper mechanism: receptivity. You simply cannot feel desire, sexual or otherwise, without openness. And openness requires safety. So I see many people trying to fix their libido when actually what needs to repair is their presence. Because desire emerges naturally when you are available to experience. You don't create this presence, this aliveness by forcing stimulation. You rediscover it by removing resistance to what is already happening in your life. And here's one of the deeper layers to turned on living and creation. When you are turned on by your life, you become receptive to your own creations. Ideas begin arriving, synchronicities increase, and you feel pulled rather than pushed. Why? Well, because creativity only exists in the present moment. You cannot create in the past, and you cannot create in the future. Creation happens only in the now. And what is now? Well, now is all there actually is. When people say that they've lost purpose, what they've often lost is presence. Purpose isn't something that you intellectually decide. Purpose is something that you feel yourself participating in. One more time. Purpose is something that you feel yourself participating in. And turned on living is the epicenter of living your mission, because it means that your attention is fully present, fully online, activated. You are actually here now, experiencing your life. So with that said, we can see that presence is the ultimate key to turned on living. Because here's the paradox. You cannot be turned on without being present. And if you are truly present, you're already turned on. Presence heightens sensation. Presence amplifies perception. Presence allows emotion, pleasure, curiosity, and meaning to register in the nervous system. This is why a lot of meditation traditions and Taoist vitality practices and even peak performance psychology all converge on the same principle. Attention creates reality. And when our attention returns to the body, life becomes vivid again. Not because circumstances changed, but because you arrived in the present moment. So, how do we change it when we're feeling turned off? You don't force yourself into presence. You just keep practicing returning to the now. And I want to share with you 3 super simple recalibrations that you have access to in every single moment. The first one is just noticing sensation. Right now, feel your breath. Don't control it, just notice it. Because presence begins with sensation. And number 2, reduce constant input. Overstimulation numbs receptivity. It fries our nervous system, but silence restores it. Our nervous system needs to feel space. And number 3, follow your micro interests. Because turned on living doesn't begin often with these huge life changes. It begins with these tiny little sparks. What feels slightly interesting, slightly curious, slightly alive? Follow that. Because presence grows through attention. So being turned on by life isn't about chasing excitement. It's about being available to existence. It's about letting yourself fully arrive in your present moment without waiting for something better to begin. Because when you are truly present, your nervous system softens. Your perception widens, your breath deepens, and your life stops feeling like something that you must constantly manage. And it starts feeling like something you are in a super sexy relationship with. Something that you can taste, touch, respond to. Turned on living is not a performance. It's just presence, really deep, intentional presence. And presence is the doorway through which purpose, desire, creativity, pleasure, and intimacy all enter. So when you are here, like really here, something ancient in your body wakes up. Your senses sharpen, your curiosity returns, and your energy starts moving again. No stagnation. Suddenly, life stops feeling like this long list of obligations, and it starts feeling a little more seductive. A quiet invitation from existence itself. So today, don't try to become more interesting. Don't try to force passion. Just become more present, more here, more now. Feel your breath. Feel the ground underneath your feet. Feel the subtle electricity of being alive in this moment. And notice what starts turning back on. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Quantumly Kinky with Dr. Veda. Until next time, stay turned on.